hopefully we've got a few people. Good afternoon. Hopefully we've got a few people joining us today. It's been a mad, crazy, busy week. I think I'm a bit on the hoof, aren't I? There we go. No, I'm not. Hopefully. So yeah, thank you all of you that watched on Monday evening for Create and Craft. It's been ages since we've been there, so it was nice to catch up with everybody. Lovely to work with Dawn. And yeah, it was a bit of a busy show, wasn't it? And it's been as busy here. So thank you all very much for those of you that have watched and filled your baskets either with TV or with us. We very much appreciate it. So today, let's bring up my comments on here and see if I can see if anybody's watching. Hopefully somebody's watching and people are joining me and you can all hear me. So today we're going to play again with another one of the new releases. It's not saying whether we are live on anything at this moment in time, so I don't know if we are live on Facebook or if we are live on YouTube. So if you are watching, please let me know that you are there. Yeah, so today we're going to play with one of our new releases again. So here we go. Oh, you've got my notepad in there, you don't need that bit. So we're going to be playing with our sentiments stamp set and our flower fields. We are also going to be using Versa Fine Onyx Black and our crystal clear embossing powder. The things we always tend to go for, the basics. We've got some gold, when does that look like gold? Some black paper and some white cardstock. We have gone with the black paper. I've definitely got no comments coming up, so I have no idea what's going on. I wonder if I do that, let me know if that's going to come on. No idea what's going on. So fingers crossed, Martin's watching in the office and he might be able to come and tell me whether I am live on Facebook or not in a moment. So yeah, so we've got black cardstock, white paper. I've gone with the black, it's black. Start again. Black paper, white cardstock. I've gone with the black paper because we've got a few layers to do on this, just to keep the weight down. Sorry, I was just being informed we are on Facebook. Who knows what's going on with the comments today, hey? Anything could be going on. So we are also going to be using mid green, clean colour pen, yellow green, May green. They're the three greens that you often will see me using. And we've done a lot of blue lately, so I thought we'd go with a bit of pink. So we've got a blended pen and wine red, believe it or not, which actually when we start to blend it goes pink. We are using watercolour cardstock today. We are out of stock of watercolour cardstock and are working on a new supplier because our supplier no longer exists. Those of you that are commenting, please let me know. Please continue to comment and I will come back and answer any questions after our live. So today's measurements are an 8x8 piece of card, or 8x8 card should I say. You're going to have one piece, and remember this is watercolour card, 7 1/4 by 2 3/4 inches. We're going to have a 4-inch square. We're also going to have a 4 by 1.5 inch to pop a sentiment on, and we are also going to have a 1 by 1 3/4 inch times 2. Now you also need the black layers to go with this, but it is literally 1/8 of an inch bigger to do this. If you want to make it slightly different, slightly wider, feel free, but it is literally 1/8 of an inch for a really little narrow border all the way around. Okay, so I haven't given you the measurements, but it's each piece needs a black layer 1/8 of an inch bigger than your white piece. If you do want those measurements, please shout me and I will do that later on. So should we get started? Clear all these bits and pieces out of the way. Right, and breathe a minute. It's been mad today. Absolutely bonkers of a day. Believe it or not, I still didn't have a bit of lipstick on less than 3 minutes ago. So, right, grab the pieces we're going to work from. So we have our Flower Fields stamp. I'm wondering, I'm going to flip that off. Fingers crossed we won't get disturbed. Once again, we're still struggling to get this silence thing working, and I'm wondering if that's maybe why I'm not getting any comments coming through, whether that's decided to play up on us, who knows. So we are going to take the black VersaFine Onyx Black, and we are going to ink our stamp up. Now obviously this is quite a large stamp in comparison to some, and we're using parts of it on this card. Now this is a card some of you have seen me make before, but it's a go-to card for me. I tend to do my go-to cards on here because they're kind of my style. So we're going to stamp the image on here across the bottom. And remember, it's a big stamp, plenty of ink and enough pressure to transfer that image over. And give it a little bit of time for that ink to be absorbed into the paper. As you can see, my stamp is beautifully crystal clear. I'm dreadful for cleaning my stamps, as you all know. So we stamp our image out, and then we are going to put crystal clear embossing powder over the top, if I can find my bit of paper to do that with. It's very strange when I haven't got any comments to answer to on here. I don't know why it does that, but it does. So we did our first workshop this last weekend up in Newcastle, so the first workshop of the year, and then we have more workshops coming up this weekend. I'm trying to look for my wet wipes, but I can't seem to see where they've gone. They appear to have disappeared, so I guess we'll be going with a piece of tissue to clean off my excess ink. I don't know where I have a whole packet here somewhere. Good grief. Oh well. We'll get rid of that wet bit that's there. That's going to spread it across the Sahara Desert with the amount that was on there. Right, so we are going to heat this from underneath. Those of you that haven't watched me before, the reason I do that is to put a barrier between the amount of air that blows out of your heat gun and the embossing powder. Stops it dancing around a little bit if you can manage to do that. Sorry people, I had a hair tickle in my eye. So we are literally heating that from underneath. It does take a little bit longer with the watercolour card because obviously it's quite a lot thicker than the regular cardstock. And we have another workshop this coming weekend here in our unit at Honeydew HQ. So it's a bit of a busy week really, with TV and packing everybody's orders and managing to get set up for the workshop and deciding what I'm going to feed everybody. I think that's the hardest bit, feeding everybody. So we've just done one piece. I'm also going to just show you what I did with the square. This is our 4x4 inch square, and again I'm just going to ink that up because then we can do all the embossing and all the inking at the same time. So work out which part of the stamp you would like on your square. Now you can do it so that you kind of lose this squiggly bit if you want, so it's more in the centre, or you can do it that you keep that squiggly bit on there. Obviously it's not going to take the full stamp, just like this didn't take the full width, this won't take the full height, but it works well together when we finally get to see what the finished card is. Again, remember it's a big stamp, so plenty of ink, and allow the time for the ink to absorb in there a little bit before you take your stamp away. And then we're going to put the embossing powder on that one as well. Those of you that are wondering what on earth is on my piece of scrap that I'm using here, that was done with our hexagon. Somebody asked me at the workshop last weekend how I made the diamonds out of the hexagon stamp stencil and mask set that we have. So that's what that random bit of pink ink is on the middle of our embossing scrap. So again, we're going to heat from underneath. Also, the other thing I didn't mention before is when you tap the excess powder off your stamped image, don't be tempted to give it a really good hard flick like we would normally tell you to do with embossing powders. Just a really light little tap will take off all your excess for this, because the embossing powders are not the best friends with this particular ink, but it does work. And those of you that have seen me do that little trick where I put the embossing ink on first and then distress oxides or distress inks or whatever over the top, you could also do that with this if you wanted to do it, but you don't have to. It will hold the ink if you're quick to get your embossing powder on there. Sorry, it will hold the powder if you're quick to get it on there. So I think we've got all of that, just to make sure. So you would also be doing the same with your two little squares. Now I have done those ahead just to because heat embossing these, you need to be careful because it's your little fingers it's going to get. So just be careful when you heat emboss these little squares. So we're now going to go in and colour with our clean colour pens. So also remember with this you need to be blotting as you're going along, because particularly with these pens, I'm not sure about others, but definitely with these pens you need to make sure you blot as you go along so that you don't smudge it when you go to stick it down, because I promise you, you will. And the red goes a very long way. So we've got the red and the blender pen here. So we've got wine red, which is 024. If it's not in stock on our website, it will hopefully be coming back very, very shortly. So literally I've just popped a tiny little dot. Let's go see if we can bring this in. I might be able to bring it in and not be able to bring it back out again. Ooh, stop there. Right, so I'm popping a tiny little dot in here on each of the petals, and then I am taking the blending brush and I'm picking that ink up and I'm pulling it out to the end of the petal. Ooh, that other pen was right in the middle of there, wasn't it? So pick up the ink and pull it right to the edge of the petal. If I went that way and took the ink up the petal rather than outwards, you'll get a darker image towards the end. The blend won't be as light. So if you want a darker image, do it the other way around. I hope that made sense. So I'm just going to go in and take the excess pink ink that has gone onto my blender pen and wipe that off on the kitchen paper. So you're just going to go in again, pull that colour out, and I spin the card round because that way I still have that same blend going all the way through. Getting good with this zooming in and out lock. Right, so I have, at this moment in time, let's pick this piece up, maybe you can see, still got some pink ink on the end of that pen. Rather than clean that all off, I've got a couple of little tiny flowers here that don't really need much colour. So I'm just going to use the ink that's on the end of that blender to colour those flowers. Just those tiny little ones, and then I can wipe that excess off. So again, back in with just a tiny little blob on each petal, and then the blender pen to pull that out. This is actually quite a quick card to do as well, so once you know the measurements that you like to work with, it's a really easy card to work on. I don't know what on earth is going on with these comments, Lark. It drives me insane. I think it's because I'm not particularly tech savvy that I can't work it out, and it's driving me mad. But I'm sure if there's anything I need to pass on, Martin will come out and let me know. He's tucked away in the office, busily working away. So we've left Maisie at home with the grandmas today. So we know we won't have her squeaking and bringing me toys. So we're almost finished colouring this in. And I'm going to do the same down here with that excess ink that's on that brush. So I've been really careful not to mark any of those, but I'm just going to take that piece of kitchen paper I've got and just blot over the top of those flowers. Now there's one little flower that's sneaked out there. There's not enough ink on there. Just because I know that would drive me mad. Just that silly little bit there that I've missed. And my eyes would go to that all the time. So we're now going to go in and do the green. So I've got a combination of the 3 greens that are my go-tos, which are mid green, yellow green and May green. And all I'm going to do is pop in a bit of each of the colours on the bigger leaves. And then I tend to choose the lighter colour, but it's my own personal preference, to blend all those colours and mix them all up together, just because it stops it being quite so one-dimensional as far as colouring goes. You can obviously ground things, as they say, by adding the greys and the blues around the edge, but this just stops it being a little bit of a flat colour. Now remember, you've got to go in and blot those, so be careful how you're manoeuvring your pen and your hand over this card, because once it's smudged, it's not so easy to unsmudge. There are a few tricks which help get some of it away, but it won't take it all away. So because they're quite big leaves, I'm going to go in and blot those now to get rid of that excess ink. And you'll see quite a lot of ink comes off that, but that's really what you need to do, because all of that you're seeing there was sitting on top of the embossing powder. None's come off the actual colour. And then we've got a couple of other little leaves in here to do. I'm just going to hurry and get these done a bit quick. So I'm not going to mix those colours on here. I'm just going to colour those in. A few more to do here. And don't forget your grass seed up here as well. And again, make sure you blot that. And there you are. That's that first piece finished. You are going to do the same with your square piece, so you will end up with a piece like so. We're now going to put those all together. Bear with me, I'm coming back, I promise. Just getting all the pieces we need. So I have already put my sentiment on here. That is entirely your choice whether you want to do that, and I have stuck those 2 pieces down as well. So we've already put our border around on here. I am going to try and bring us back out again a little way. I'm getting better at this zooming lark, but I'm still not great. So it's literally piece. How quick is this? We're 20 minutes in. Not even 20 minutes in and we're nearly finished. Obviously I coloured some of this in beforehand, but you saw how quick that skinny piece colours in. It doesn't take long to colour in at all. We're going to top that onto some paper. I'm still really cautious when I put my layers down, just in case some of that ink still hasn't dried. I always hope and pray it has, but it doesn't. It's not always as nice to me as I want it to be. And then we're going to do the same with this. And if anybody has missed any of our Facebook lives, YouTube lives, they are all still available over on our YouTube channel. There are some videos on there as well, but the lives that are on there, you go onto the YouTube channel, go onto YouTube, type in Honeydew Crafts, and we should come up. And then there's an option to watch the lives. So that's where you would see what we've been doing with these new stamps in the last few weeks. I haven't done any videos as such since those, just the lives. I haven't had time. So we're going to build this card up like so, and I've done it kind of all in the same colours. Previously I've done this style card and we've had lots of different colours and different stamp sets, but this is just to show you that you can use the big stamp set and make a really cool card. So I do tend to use wet glue, and I'm not going to press this down hard yet because I just want to pop it in roughly where I want them to go, and then it will give me a little bit of wiggle room if I need it. Hoping I'm not going to need it, but you never know. So I want to try and get my gaps all fairly similar, so off the edge here, down the edge here, along so and so, you know, just as best as you can with the measurements we've got. I'm going to pop that sentiment here, so I want that in line with that, and I would quite like it in line here as much as the eye can do as well. And then we will pop these last two little pieces in as well. My goodness, 20 minutes. I'm impressed with myself. I'm not normally that good. Now this is where your telltale is, and that's why I don't press anything down too hard. Telly nails don't want me to lift that off. Ah! There we go. And that's exactly why we don't put it on and press down until we're happy with where everything is. Once you're happy with all of that, I'm going to pop a little bit more glue on there because that one dried off a little bit. And hopefully that will all hold together now. And how simple was that card? All from using Flower Field stamp set and our fabulous flourishes. Now remember, I have that thing about going on the inside of your cards. So, ink the stamp. Because I never know which part I'm going to use until I start positioning it. And I think we're just going to take this edge and pop that down. This is my little thing at the moment, that it really does help to transfer and make your cards look not just a handmade card, but a really professionally handmade card that you've spent some time and put some effort into making. Again, I'm going to pop a little bit of embossing powder on here. And heat that from underneath as well. Now I do try and get my heat gun as warm as possible before I start to heat this, because it will, these cards are super thick, so it will warp your card a little bit, but if it's still wiggle room warm, you can usually straighten that out. Just realised we're not in shot. as I said, I heat from underneath to put that barrier between the embossing powder. If you're not going to colour this and you don't mind a few bits dancing around your paper, then that's fine, you don't have to do it from underneath. And it does take a little bit of practice, I'm not going to lie, it does take a little bit of practice to do it from underneath. But it's worth practicing and taking the time to do that. So obviously this is now not watercolour card, so I can't blend my colours. So I'm just going to go in and try and do a little bit, but it's not going to be hugely successful. What might have been more successful is if I had put it onto the paper. There we go. Let's pick the ink up off there. And we can go in with the blender pen. And pick up that ink. And the same with the colouring. I'm actually just going to go straight in with the green on here. I'm not even going, I mean, you don't even have to colour it in inside if you didn't want to. I just wanted to finish this off as we had already started. But be careful, remember you don't want to smudge that as you're going along. And we will blot that as well. Okay, so that's that piece done. We obviously need a sentiment in the inside. So, have a fabulous day, celebrate your day, hope this year is your best one yet, happy birthday, let's go with a happy birthday. And this font is fabulous, it's so, I really like the fact that we've got the two different, completely different styles. One is really, look how filthy my acrylic block is, well loved, that's all they are, well loved. Sentiment in there. I'm not going to heat emboss that just purely for time, because you've watched me do a lot of heat embossing in this last half an hour. 28 minutes, where did that time go? Speedy cards. So that's the inside of your card finished. We have the front done, and I just want to pop a couple of little gems in the centre of those flowers, literally just to finish the card off. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. I just think it'll just add a little bit of something to this. Hence I didn't colour in the very tiny parts of these flowers. Oops, that one didn't want to leave home. Now it's stuck to me. We'll give up on that one, I think. But just by adding these couple of little gems in here, it just transforms it from being a flat card to a dimensional card. One thing I will mention though, by adding those it becomes a large letter, so be aware of that if that is what you want to do. Death by 1,000 gems, look. I said I was only going to add a couple, didn't I? Who was I lying to? But once you start, you need them in each one, each one of the flowers, I think. If you prefer not to, that's your choice. You could even put a nice little row up in the top corner there if you wanted to. So that is our card finished. Again, it's one of those sort of like framey type cards that you do tend to see me do quite a lot of. What a mess I've made just making a tiny little card like that. And I made a real mess on TV as well, didn't I? So there we go. Try and straighten it up, try and bring it. Ooh. That might have been better to just leave it there and fiddle with it and zoom in on it, mightn't I? And again, as I say, remember to take your image all the way through so that the whole thing ties together. So what have we used? Today we have used our Versamark ink. We've also used crystal clear embossing powder. We have used clean colour pens in wine red and the blender. We've also used them in May green, yellow green and mid green. So they are the 3 pens we've used. We've obviously just used some gems from my stash, and then the flowers we have used, the stamps we have used with these lovely flowers on are Flower Fields, and the sentiments are just called Honeydew Craft Sentiments. And on here you get happy birthday, hope this year is your best one yet, hope your day is fabulous, celebrate your day, make a wish, and birthday wishes. So they are the 2 stamp sets we've used. We obviously also used the white super smooth cardstock and our 120 GSM black paper. What else did we use? Watercolour cardstock. As I said, for the blending with the clean colour pens, I'm not sure about other pens, but for blending with clean colours, you do need watercolour card to make it successful. So what I am going to do is try and zoom that in. Oh, wrong way. Oh, now you're all going to get seasick. There we go. Move that down a little bit so you can see that full card. So really clean, simple, easy card to make. You could blend around the edges to kind of make it not quite so stark white if you wanted to. You can use coloured papers. Navy blue paper would be lovely under this. Yeah, so there's lots of different things you can do. So now you get me again. So you can contact us via honeydewcrafts@gmail.com if you want to email us. You can get us on our website. There's a contact us section on honeydewcrafts.co.uk. You can also get us through Facebook or YouTube, whichever you prefer. And don't forget, we have the closed group for Honeydew Crafts, which is called Honeydew Crafts Be Inspired. And that's a group of all of our lovely customers and who go on there, and you can post all of your fabulous makes and takes from Honeydew Crafts with Honeydew Crafts products. We do ask that they are only Honeydew Crafts products that you put on there. If you're using anybody else's, then it isn't really meant to be on the page. So it's just Honeydew Crafts products. Obviously, if it's inks that we sell, that's different. If it's inks that we don't sell, please don't put them on the picture. What else do I need to say? So we are back here next Wednesday, which I believe it or not, is the 5th of April. Where did this month go? So 5th of April, 2 PM Wednesday. We'll be doing another fab little crafty session. They are short and sweet usually. Not often do we go past the half hour to an hour. Fingers crossed that's just what you're all after. If there's anything that anybody particularly wants to see, please let me know. A couple of things I do need to tell you about. We have a couple of items that have been so popular that we are on pre-order for them, and that is our circles and masks stencil, our circles, stencil and mask. They should be with us in just a couple of weeks, and also the Floral Reasons stamp, and which is also on pre-order, but that should be here next week. Same with a couple of the new ones. I can't remember which ones we're incredibly low stock on. So again, thank you all so much for watching us on Monday evening. Let us know what you thought about the evening slot. It's the first time we've done an evening slot, and it'd be nice to know what you all think, whether you prefer the daytimes or the evenings. I think that's everything. I apologise for the fact that I look like I've got suitcases under my eyes, because it's been one of those weeks. As I say, rushed to put the makeup on 5 minutes before the show. So if anybody's got any questions, please let me know. I will go back and have a look at any comments that have come up during this session. If not, we'll hopefully see you all back here next Wednesday at 2 p.m. I'm going to finish by showing you that lovely cardigan, if I whip that off there. And all of these products are available over on our website, honeydewcrafts.co.uk. Have a lovely afternoon, and